Welcome to NYVR. Can I get an applause for VR's best media? We've been organizing this event for many, many years, and I'm excited to get to the show tonight. That's right. All right, so we got a little bit of housekeeping stuff, and then we will get to our presenters. So for any new members, NYVR's mission statement is to simply grow and support the XR community in New York City. I want to thank the Glimpse Group for sponsoring the event space. Very, very helpful for us to have this amazing space. Also, thank you to our volunteers. Anthony is in the back, and Gene, and Steve's actually in AWE with a bunch of other folks tonight, so I hope they're having fun, but they're going to miss out tonight. Reminder that the presentations are all live streamed and they are recorded, so anybody that's at AWE can check this out afterwards. Many thanks to Jimmy at KSVN TV for helping us do the broadcasting. Who are new members? Raise your hands if you are a new member. I've got a couple stragglers here. We have something called the collaboration group. It's designed to help new members that are interested in getting into the VR industry. Basically, I team people up with like-minded folks and set them off to create a portfolio piece. So if you are interested in that, just come up afterwards, give me kind of your resume. I have a running list of other developers and artists, and I've teamed people up. So some of those groups have gone on to form startups and had a lot of success, so very happy to continue to support that program. Also, always interested in future presenters and any XR startups, so if you know of any or you are part of something, hit me up and let me know. This note at the bottom, we had a special interest in getting more involved with activities that are happening in VR Chat and Meta Horizon. And tonight we have multiple folks speaking about that, so I'm very excited to get to that part of the content. Had a little initiative, and now we got some folks talking, so I'm very excited. Some announcements. All of the NYVR dates for the rest of the year are on Meetup, but that's the dates. We're actually supporting some of the other XR communities. It seems like it's just getting more active, which is really great. So we're going to have our summer party on August 13th, and I'm looking to do the speed drawing tilt brush competition that we did at the NYVR. So if you are an artist and you are interested in doing that again, Hannah, as reigning champion, you're going to have to do it. Hit me up, and for that event, we're really just going to be networking and having the speed drawing competition going on. I think, Alex, you're due to compete in that. Then a couple other events. So XR Guild folks are hosting an event on June 30th. That's actually, I think, their summer party. You can hit that QR code. I'll leave it up there for a second. That's their RSVP link. And then 3DNY, these are their upcoming dates. Fortunately, we're not conflicting on any of our dates, so there's plenty of community events to go to. So that's July 16th, September 10th, and November 19th. And then the Unreal meetup, which is run by our friend Alex, he has the next event popping up on July 17th. He's trying to get a little bit more active with his events. So very happy to support those other XR initiatives. If you have any recent VR experience that you've been excited about, hit that QR code and just let us know. I'm constantly updating our list of experiences. You can take a picture of this. This has kind of the latest and greatest recommendations from our community on things to check out. The bold ones are movers from the last event. All right, and if you're not on our LinkedIn page, please hit up the LinkedIn. We have a bunch of news, and we try and communicate mainly through LinkedIn these days. So if you're not part of the LinkedIn group, hit that QR code. Okay, I think that's it on housekeeping. We are going to have Winslow come up first, and they have an awesome summer workshop series that he's going to talk about, and then we'll get to our main presenters.
Thank you, DJ. It's good to be back. So, yeah, we have an NYVR at the yard. That's what we call it. Summer workshop series. Has anyone here been to Building 22 of the NYVR?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah, that's also where XR Guild has most of their meetings. Are they going to have their summer party there?
No, I think they're going to be at a bar.
That makes sense. Okay, because they should have told me that they were going to have a party there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very responsible, very good humans. And we have a lot of different happenings in the space. We have a large virtual production facility, for those who have been before, I mentioned video capture, and a bunch of awesome classrooms and VR experiences to check out. And in order to keep the vibe alive, because normally we have students in the space during the school year, we're having a series of workshops that happen every Saturday. We kicked ours off with Louisa right here with a touch designer workshop with projection mapping. Each workshop is about 7 hours long, and by the end we want people to actually have something to take away that they can post on their socials, their resume, and actually have a good knowledge of the ins and outs of these things. As you can see on the bottom, the different hashtags that we do. I'll just go over the basic schedules so you can see what's happening. We have a bunch of stuff as far as vibe coding. If you just take a picture of the QR code, all this stuff will be there, so you don't have to worry about remembering all these details. David Lobser, who also frequents this space, will be giving 2 different workshops. There's also one this weekend. If anyone's interested in doing custom web and audio, that is Tommy Martinez, who's also a researcher and an HD's adjunct of the space. Woody, a familiar face as well, will be doing building virtual avatars for streaming in the Unreal Engine. This is Dave Scheinkopf, aka Barbecue Dave. I'm sure you've met other Daves, but no other Barbecue Daves. He's great, and he'll be doing basically vibe coding in Unity. And then David Snellman will be doing basically doing Claude into Unreal using C++. So that should be super cool. And then our friend David Lobser has a class called Shader Magic. So basically being able to, this right here says it's 2 days, so we'll probably just make it 1 day, just because it's hard to get people, especially in the summer, to be able to do 2 in a row. But yeah, we look forward to seeing any and all of you, probably not all of you, at the workshops. And let me know if you have any questions. We've got some flyers. And just full transparency, it's 7 hours, $250, which is actually pretty reasonable when it comes to other workshops in the city. And if you're an NYU student, it's $125. So thank you, DJ, and definitely feel free to ask me any questions about this.
With us. All right. So now we're going to get to the main portion of the event, and we're going to start with Aaron Sorrells, affectionately known as the unemployed alcoholic. Come on down, you're the next contestant on NYVR.
Thank you. All right, keep it going for DJ, everybody. Good stuff. It's amazing to be here in New York City and to be introduced as the unemployed alcoholic. It's pretty wild. That raises some questions for people sometimes. And it's been a journey. It's funny, the unemployed alcoholic started as some pretty serious personal issues, as you might guess there. And then it transitioned from that into doing comedy, and then now to being a full-fledged brand in a game development studio, show production thing, and all that. And about 8 years ago, I left a job to address alcoholism, and I'm now eight years sober. And that is with just 2 cheat days a week. So that's a joke. Yeah, and that's good. I have been kind of leaning into this whole unemployed alcoholic thing. I have a website. It's theunemployedalcoholic.com. That was available. I built a logo This is a smiley face wearing a blindfold that says unemployed alcoholic. And that reminds me to keep smiling even when my circumstances don't necessarily lead into that. But yeah, I have merchandise. There's coffee cups and shirts and everything. This is my favorite piece of merchandise, though. This is an unemployed alcoholic drink coaster. I'm going to throw this at you, so be ready. Oh! For anybody who missed that hit her right in the head. And that is why we don't have unemployed alcoholic throwing stars. And you have a couple of more unemployed alcoholic drink coasters. Okay, all right, well done. Ready back there? Oh, sorry, that was on me. Left-handed throw, that's good. We're gonna try one way back there. Wow, that could have killed someone. Yeah. All right. Yeah, ended up going from recovery into doing stand-up comedy, and then from doing stand-up comedy, when COVID hit, had to figure out a new way to help people laugh, and that brought me into virtual reality. And from there, built the Soapstone Comedy Club, and that's been quite the adventure. And we've found some success. We've built a company out of this concept, and we've had the opportunity to collaborate with Meta, as well as a bunch of great comedians, famous people, a lot from New York, actually. Pete Holmes performed at the Soapstone not too long ago, and Jay Farrow from Saturday Night Live. We've done some stuff, and more importantly, we've given a stage to thousands and thousands of people who want to get up on stage and perform. In fact, it's especially nice to be here in New York because we've had the Soapstone Comedy Club in Honolulu Bay, which is an all-ages experience, which means there's a lot of kids. And tomorrow we're officially launching the Soapstone Comedy Club NYC. And that is an 18-hour experience. So every time you get up for grown-ups acting like kids instead of kids acting like grown-ups. I'm gonna see if I can. Yeah, please. I'm not very techy.
Okay.
So this is the Soapstone. People can become a sober star in the Soapstone. They get points for applauding people and getting applause by performing. It's usually our frame rate is a little better than this. Anybody in? Yeah. People can produce. We've got a new wheel to give away with credits. We give away a ton of in real life merchandise. And favorite comedians coming through here. This is Adam Deggy. He's from Grand Rapids. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, by the way, so it's really fun to be here in New York. Again, we've had some neat opportunities in the Soapstone, and we found some success. And I wanted to take a minute to share with you guys. Oh, now my timer stopped. So now I don't know where I'm at with time, so I'm just going to keep talking forever. Nothing worse than somebody who's done comedy without a timer. But a couple things that I really think have helped us find success in the metaverse that I wanted to share with you all. First off, in virtual reality, we've focused on reality. I was
over there, so you're in the camera.
Oh, and where is the camera?
Right there.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I was doing cartwheels over there for anybody watching. I'm sorry you missed that. But yeah, we've done some very exciting things, and one of the things that has made us successful at the Soapstone is focusing on reality in virtual reality. We have real people putting on real shows. We have about 200 show instances a week that happen in the Soapstone, and they get real opportunities. There's people that can come in and perform comedy and win a $1,000 gig. In fact, we were just talking earlier about a lady who, from England, who has never done comedy, came into the Soapstone, got on stage, kind of liked it, developed a tight 5 minutes of material, and landed a $1,000 gig. So, yeah, and did also want to share another secret to what's made us successful, and that's collaboration. You know, how many people out there are collaborating with other people on your projects? Okay, all right. If there's any hands that didn't go up, find somebody to collaborate with. You know, I'm not the most tech-savvy person, as evidenced by not being able to turn the thing out in the doohickey on. But fortunately, I've been able to partner up and work with people that complement my skill set, and that my skill set complements them. And together we've accomplished some great things. So actually, Xandria Hart, as she's known in virtual reality, is one of those people. She has an excellent skill set of project management. All right. Not that anybody's keeping track, but I think that was more applause than I got when I came up on stage. So, Xandria Hart, absolutely amazing. And one of the wonderful things about her skill set is she helps us deliver on the promises that we make. She helps us keep organized and the project management, which is especially nice because we have a whole bunch of creatives on our team that don't necessarily like deadlines and whatnot. So, Xandria, thank you for collaborating on this. So, I know we're going to have a lot of time afterwards for questions and answers, and I'm happy to jump into that. I know we had an opportunity to chat a little bit before the thing, and we'll chat some more afterwards. But I know we've got lots of wonderful presenters that are going to be here, so let me just turn it back over to DJ. Give it up again for DJ.
And showing an amazing new world. And I forgot to mention, we do Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions for Aaron or any of the presenters, hit that QR code and we'll get back to that. Next up, we have Anthony. Come on down. NYVR's own Anthony Starr.
Thank you, DJ. Really awesome that Aaron talked about collaboration. It was actually one of the essential points of my slides. So it's collaborative learning, but one of the most impactful learning experiences that I ever go through is when I work with a team, when there's that collaborative process. And it's that process of being able to communicate ideas, exchange them, build on one another's ideas. And those are some essential skills that we need to really, or I really like emphasize, especially with emerging technologies such as AI. And I kind of want to give you guys, I want to give you guys an idea of like what helped shape my thinking behind this is my own experience. So a couple years ago, I was a technology instructor working at community centers. And my responsibility was to lead 2 VR projects for 2 classrooms, and it was actually my first introduction with virtual reality. And this was one of the most impactful experiences because, well, number one, again, it was my first time being introduced with virtual reality, and now I'm here, so that's pretty funny. But 2, it was also to see how the collaborative process worked with my students. So I had a student, I would direct a project, and my students would take the role of an artist, would take the role of a developer. Here we use closed spaces to build these interactive experiences. And that kind of like solidified to me the importance of collaborating with other people and seeing what skill set they bring. Let's go on to the next one. So now, like fast forward a little bit, a couple years now, I'm overseeing 20 youth clubs. And we have students do these capstone projects to kind of highlight what they've accomplished in club. It is also to kind of reflect on what they've learned. And we also do competitions, but there was like no cross-functional teams where, for example, we would have an art club or we'll have like an independent creative writing club, and none of the students would actually get together and work on something. So that's kind of that's the reason behind the writing club, is that I wanted to explore that. So this is actually just a quick outline, a quick draft of how I thought the weeks would go. Essentially, these were the learning objectives. I wanted them to collaborate, show teamwork, be curious and explore, but also be adaptable. The weeks didn't actually turn out to be as again, you'll see as we go up, but I also did some surveys of students, trying to kind of gauge their understanding, how well they work with the team, trying to get some data of how they respond to working in a team. Have they exchanged ideas before, or have they, for example, how do they learn best? Is it hands-on? Is it conceptual, like reading and stuff like, or watching tutorials? And then afterwards, I got this. I grabbed a student from art club, and you'll hear the parallels between this and the NYVR collaboration group. But I pulled a student from art club, from music, for web development and 3D modeling, and we made this club. We went to the classroom, gave them the space, gave them the resources. I'll personally be there because the aim of the club was to build a VR experience. So me, being a bit, an enthusiast, I want to be in there. So I was really involved in this initiative, and we began to brainstorm, we began to communicate ideas. We used Canva to drop our ideas and visualize them. We used GitHub to monitor our project. You'll see some issues there, but I really wanted to kind of have the students communicate, emphasize that communication. So for example, whenever club started, I will ask them, hey, what have you guys been working on? And they'll kind of do like this stand-up where they'll talk about the ticket, or they'll talk about the issue that they're working on. And the club was focused on designing a virtual reality experience, so there was a lot, it was pretty intense, it was accelerated, it was only 6 weeks, and there was a lot of information being thrown at the students. So we had to go over user navigation, user interactions, game design principles, and learning just how to implement it. But we began to pull these assets together. We began to create so we went for an escape room, kind of giving different puzzles. There will be a scene where art, history, math, and then you have those puzzles be tailored to that subject. And we did the level design. We began to pull assets from Sketchfab. And there were some challenges. We couldn't, I only saw them 90 minutes a week, and I couldn't necessarily provide all their responses or their questions. So I actually took a step back and wanted to kind of give them an experiment of I wanted to take a step back and give them a lesson of provide them a lesson of how to kind of prompt Gemini or ChatGPT to kind of generate images, but also brainstorm ideas as well. And it was really efficient because we did these rapid art concepts. We also had some issues with we didn't have access to the best resources, so we used to kind of record audio. So we used 11 Labs to do the audio for us. But it was a way for the students to experiment with AI imagery and AI audio. Just the overall key takeaway from this pilot club, even though the aim was to build a VR experience, is also to focus on those communication skills, the collaboration skills. I think those are very essential skills as we go into this new digital or new AI age or emerging tech age. And another one of the key takeaways was that the pilot club, it could be broken down into these various different clubs. So for example, it could be broken into game design, it could be broken down into 3D modeling, or storytelling and immersive experiences. A lot of different elements that this club can be broken and fractured into. And honestly, the key takeaway I want you guys to do is just to reach out to somebody, build some cool shit together, see how you guys can, again, use your skill sets to mesh something together. And that's how I'll leave you guys with it. Yeah, thank you guys. Demo is at the back, so you'll see the students' experience over there. I'll let you guys know how that goes.
Thanks for sharing that. All right. Any questions for Anthony? Hit that up. And next up, we have Hannah. Come on down. Hannah really enjoyed your competition at last event, and I was like, we have to have you talk about your project. So thank you for coming.
She was amazing.
Thank you so much. Hello, NYVR. Today, I want to share a story of the radical hope. A little bit about me. I'm an immigrant. I am a philosophy student. I was a diplomatic advisor. I taught philosophy. I'm all of the above, but I have never been a coder, never been a prototyper, never learned VR. This is my story of how I got there, what everything means to me, and how I think that can be of help to anyone here. Thank you so much. So, I have someone very important here today with me, my mom. That is how I got into VR as a philosophy major back in undergrad was that it needed fluid. I wasn't able to see my parents because of the travel restrictions, the fight between government policies, and I was weird, accidentally worse luck in between. We couldn't see each other physically for 4 years. And it made me that I want to create a tag, an interface, a philosophy, a platform that anyone at anywhere in the world, scanning a code, logging into a space, can be with each other. That even if I'm not with my mom, with my parents physically, I can argument the reality for as much as possible, and it will be like they were here with me. And that's how I got into VR. I taught myself C, like prototyping, tilt brush. I went through it all as a one-man builder. And before I graduated, I had a career in policy in BFA. I was heading the diplomacy and the partnership in the international affairs. And I've navigated the different conflicts of policy versus code, like it's the decision that you want to be a builder or a policymaker. Do you want to be writing codes or do you want to be writing policies? And art versus development, philosopher versus builder, grassroots versus system, and then immigrant versus an entrepreneur. Being displaced myself as an immigrant, I realized that was the radical hope of VR. All of them are equal to each other. Displacement is freedom. With VR, I have to believe that virtual is reality. I used to run philosophy journal analysis, and one of my collaborators, who also happens to be an old professor, you guys know him, David Chalmers, theories that virtual is reality. And all of the conflicts, aspirations, chaos we're seeing here every single day, how can be tweaked with this observation of how we see the world? And this is the magic of VR and the radical hope. And ever since I moved to Manhattan, after all those craziness of years, I got introduced to Microsoft Garage and their ecosystem. And I started doing demos, and I was supported to believe that as a one-man builder, as someone who's displaced out of the most desperate situations, I can do something, I can make a change. I set out a mission to see what can one very stubborn philosophy major do with the radical hope. And this is why I created Hope. Hope OS. It is a it is a policy, it is a philosophy. And being displaced, I began to see how the chaos, all of the misfits can aid myself and all those people around me were experiencing all of them living. And it was to be hard. One of the problems we're trying to solve here is scaling. Do you keep building the system you're using or do you migrate? And how do you create the sustainability with all the fragmentations? How do you extend the different components? VR, triad, and coding, and all development all through a minimalistic, unified design. And this is what Hope OS wants to achieve. A interface that is so minimum, but can take you anywhere. As a game, as a commercial dataset, as a philosophy, and as a attitude to make this radical change in the world. This that was my favorite philosopher Thomas, and with all of those crazy chaos in my mind, I realized that going through the displacement and actively seeking to infrastructure all of the chaos can be a methodology in itself. And as a one-man team, I was invited to co-host the ethical text summit of Microsoft Garage. That was my favorite person on earth in the UX/UI work I do. It was actually known as the Inventor PDF. We hosted a session at the Garage on how you can have a fully functioning AI-aided game environment, and so, which is so convenient that anyone within different industries, people have absolutely no background in coding or immersive programming at all, can just scan the code and be in the space. And this is something that is very personal to me, but something I want to keep scaling and building. And at the demo session afterwards, I would love to have anyone scan the code and enter the frame together with me. And with all of this back to the chaos of the immersiveness and how we can connect and promise with each other. As a one-man team, I realized that collaboration is the most important thing you can ever achieve to do. One of our biggest promises days is the how we can scale up by clinging to this chaos. How the spatial infrastructure and data processing in XR can be applied to commercialization. How we can build a chaotic but enticing fronts with the most minimalistic designs. And I am excited to announce our launch that is going to happen later this year in November at Microsoft Garage at the Summit on radical data visualization in XR with supply chain data transparency. It is my honor to invite everyone to enter the space, physically, metaphorically, philosophically, to see how we can collaborate together, including a better word, by integrating all those crazy backgrounds we have, and to see how we cook up. And this is how I saw my background in policy and philosophy can actually aid the design of building a better world. And I was born in China, but I realized this is how I got the connections of the networking and designs of the diplomacy ties, and I realized that the conflicts, the paradox we're seeing where we need a more accessible way of communication, of visualization, and with XR, we can have a chance of vertically visualizing the data, the conflicts, all of the viewpoints, by strategically connecting everything together. In our latest project is to ask us a question of how we can commercially scale up XR infrastructure by applying it to different interfaces, to cell phone, to AR, to headset, to screens, and connect it all in a unified interface and see what's going to happen. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do because again, I'm a coder, I'm a philosopher, but I have hope, I have the radical mindset of collaboration, and I believe together, collaborating, we can make a difference. We can solve part of it, the isolations, the conflicts, displacements, the paradox, by not changing the reality, but by argumenting and elevating it with XR, with our things. We're here today because we are XR lovers, and anyone who does XR, anyone who's into VR, we are dreamers. As dreamers, we're the red of hope. We have the strengths within us to make a difference, to connect the tech with the accessible interfaces, and to build a better world. And it is my honor to be here today and convene to help. Hopefully, we can connect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Awesome. All right, here's the QR code, and next up we got Christine. Come on down.
Just in case.
Are you gonna throw it?
No.
You just down.
Oh, awesome, thank you. Actually, I told Aaron earlier that I had this secret thing that I wanted to do improv, and I'm like, oh, now I can do it in VR. I'm gonna put my shtick together and I can test it out in VR. Anyways, my name is Chris Jansen. I get a whoop for that. All right. So, back in 2018, I was still a professor at Fordham University. I was there for 12 years. But back in 2018, I was introduced to these guys at the Glimpse Group. And I was in the business school, and I was also the director of entrepreneurship. So that's kind of how my mind works. And a mutual friend connected us, and we arranged for Laurent and a few people to come to Fordham to do a demo for business school professors. I think 3 people showed up, and I was floored. I was like, what is wrong with everybody? Because the mentality was just like, oh, I gotta learn new technology, I don't have time, blah, blah. I put the headset on, and I was completely convinced, converted, and I was like, this is what learning should be. And that still sticks in my heart and my soul. So I actually started doing some experiments with my entrepreneurship students, brought Ron and the whole team up. It was, actually, I can't believe I got a budget to get headsets, but that was my first introduction to putting students into situations that might be difficult or uncomfortable, and really learning a lot, like what is the impact of learning in VR. So Laurent and I ended up going to presenting at some conferences. He actually came and co-taught some entrepreneurship courses with me. We really started experimenting, trying to get some more exposure with VR for learning. So fast forward, I was so convinced in this that I ended up leaving my nice cushy job in higher ed to start my own company. And actually, how do I move this forward?
Just the down arrow.
Okay, there we go. All right. So I ended up creating my own company, Ed Studio, which is an entire campus in virtual reality, all in partnership with the Glimpse Group. They've been with me since the very beginning. But my vision was, my God, there's got to be a better way to learn and to teach, and a better experience for students. I was a student forever and ever and ever, working on 3 degrees, and then being inside the animal at a university and just trying to break free of the monotony and the status quo and the same old, right? So I like, if I'm really gonna have an impact and bring VR and more people experiential learning, I ended up cutting out to build my own thing. So we started with one windowless room, and did a ton of experimenting. I got 10 more than that. I had 5 instructors, I had almost 30 students, I bought headsets for everybody, and it was just a massive experiment. Like, how were the students gonna do? Nobody had ever been in a headset before. So that was the first foray. I learned a ton, but one of the things that I learned is learning isn't done in a vacuum, of course, and you can have solo learning, but there's also social stuff. Like, we need an entire campus. And so that's exactly what I did. I have a whole bunch of different venues with different learning environments. We really focus on business skills and soft skills. So I'm not doing manufacturing training or HVAC training, things like that. And the reason, not only is this my background, but the things that we're focusing on are like leadership development, problem solving, communications, things like that, because I did my homework, and pretty much every company, regardless of industry, is looking for those skills. It's like, all right, that's a big market to serve. So we've got, again, different, I'm trying to break out of the traditional classroom setting and having more realistic environments like a workroom and an amphitheater, things like that. But what's really key is you can't just have space, you need content, you need a reason for people to go in and use the platform. So we learned a ton, and so not only, again, is it space, it is creating, how do you translate what you might do in a face-to-face setting or even online and translate that into a virtual setting? It is not a matter of going in and here are my PowerPoint slides, here's my lecture in VR. And this is a really tough thing to get through to learning leaders. So that was a big hurdle, and also we did a lot with respect to, okay, let's do it. Metrics. We have to be able to prove that learning in VR or XR is superior to even face-to-face, or like what's the value add, okay? If we can do it just as well in Zoom, then let's just do it in Zoom. So proving that ROI was one big thing. Another thing that we did is we made our campus ADA compliant. So we're able to work with learners that might have a hearing impairment, audio, or a visual impairment, color blindness, all sorts of stuff. And I don't know of any other training platform that has that. That was a very deliberate decision we wanted to make to serve our audience. So, over the years, I say that a lot, so, over the years, as we were presenting this and demoing the campus, and it's evolved a ton, we would meet folks from KPMG, Ford, Capital One, because we targeted not only universities, also corporate learning development. And people would say, wow, this is really cool, really interesting, but A, I don't have time, we don't have a budget, I don't know how to code, blah, blah, blah. Really trying to get people to understand what this is all about. Can I just have the software to download on the computer? No, it doesn't work like that. So, see, I do it all the time. I ended up writing a book with my COO, Yogini Jagler. We both come from our backgrounds in teaching, training, curriculum development, etc. When I explain at Studio, we're not a software company, we're an immersive learning company. That's our expertise, okay? But what we learned meeting with these people just didn't understand. It wasn't just the technology, but it's this mindset of what learning could be, learning should be. And so after all these years, we finally sat down, and over about 14 months, we cranked this out. It actually just started selling on Amazon on Friday, the paperback. Okay, come on. I haven't been on Amazon for a week. The whole premise of this book is trying to get people to change their mindsets about what learning is, can be, should be. And yes, a big part of that is by embracing immersive technology, emerging technologies. I have a whole chapter on that. But essentially, the gist is, when people say, oh, let's think outside the box, people, I can't stand that. Because it implies that the rest of the time you're just sticking with, what you're comfortable with. Nothing exciting happens there. And that's very much how higher ed, how they stay in that comfort zone. So the first part of the book is what's going on inside the box. How do we get here? There's a lot of major crises going on, never mind the administration right now, but rising student loan debt, the rising cost of tuition, students are walking away with pieces of paper, not a lot of skills, blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on, right? How do we get here? Because that's how learning has been for decades and decades. So we dive into what is the purpose of learning, etc. Inside the box. The biggest part of the book is what's going on outside the box. And so I interviewed 15 people, including Laurent, who's in the book as with respect to emerging technology. But we're looking at experiential learning, transformational learning, different ways of assessing that people are actually learning. It's not with a multiple choice test. Access to information, everywhere for free. Why are people spending $100,000 going and getting a degree? So what is happening outside of the box? Great, amazing stories from thought leaders, authors, professors from the Graduate School of Ed, at Harvard, president of ASU, community colleges, etc. Okay, great examples. Then the book gets into, guess what, folks? There is no box. It is a man-made concept that we And you can apply this to a lot of different aspects in your life, that we play it safe. What is this box? What is this zone? It doesn't exist. And if we can remove that box altogether, imagine what learning could be, imagine other things in your life, decisions that you make, okay? Imagine what you could achieve if you got rid of the stupid box. So we get into where that originated from. We actually get into quantum thinking at the end and really trying to help people change their mindset. It really is supposed to be a mindset shift, that type of book. So while it's targeted to learning leaders, it really is something that you can apply in different ways in your life. So I said it again, have lots to share as far as what I've learned building Ed Studio. Very happy to be and proud to be partners with the Glimpse Group. There's so much happening, especially with integrating AI with VR. Super, super exciting. But I'm hoping that the reason I wrote this is really to get people, anybody, think about all the potential learning with emerging technologies, what you can do. And if we don't get people to change their mindsets, it will never get in the hands of students or employees to actually use this technology. So this is my big push to help people start changing their mind. So I do have I brought like 10 books with me, and I'm happy to do some signing. I'm giving you guys a 20% discount off the retail price, wink, wink. All right, but happy to do that and talk more about the book if you'd like. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, questions for Christine? Hit that one up. And we have our last, more like a presentation demo as opposed to speakers, which I'm very excited about. You have a couple slides to go through first?
We do, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Howdy folks, I'm Brian.
I'm Camilla.
And I paid attention to what they said for everybody else. We know how to work the laptop. I'm Brian. There's some bullet points there, but the long and short of it is, for my 5th birthday, my parents gave me a classical guitar and an introduction to HTML handbook, and here we are, So this has been a lot of bread and butter of my life. I had some chance to collaborate with some really incredible folks, including Camilla. Also, had a chance to do some AR projects with Lincoln Center and Little Lyman. Worked for Meta as a prototyper, but a lot of what I love and what I kind of really enjoy doing is creative coding and figuring out how to just take all these technologies and things that we spend a lot of our time surrounded by, how do we flip it on its head, how do we change it, how do we look at it from a slightly different angle, just see kind of what's under the hood and what we can kind of change our perspective. Camilla, if you want to give your intro.
Hi everyone. So I'm a violinist and a composer. I'm also a composer and music technologist, and I do a lot of work with Brian. Kind of my thing that I'm really into is different ways to experience music and art and immersive experiences. So we've done a bunch of things together and I really enjoy it. So.
Alrighty, so just to give you a little bit of the backdrop of some of the other projects that, this is my project slide, and the next one's your project slide, and it's going to be the thing that we do together. So just a little bit about my background, right? So during the pandemic, did some of the really classic, we're going to make a group art installation where everybody is, in little TVs inside the thing, and we're at the bottom of the well, right? So, just working with, ensembles, live musicians, one of the things that you said earlier of focusing on reality, right? Focusing on the people and what are the people doing, right? And so how do we highlight that in different ways? Then, one of the other projects is one of the other really cool things that, mute that for a second. One of the other really cool things that VR can do quite well, right, is it can transport you to different places, right? It can totally different environments, really transported, right? So this is, what if we just grab a banjo, and all these sounds are weird samples that come from the banjo that are processed, right? So, cool kind of droney, big picture stuff. All right. Camilla, if you want to talk a little bit about some of your work.
So, two things. I'm lucky enough to be tech director for Brian's company, which he'll talk about in a second. And I have an album coming out on the 5th of September with Imaginary Animals, the label. And one of the cool things, when I was writing it, I had in my head that I wanted it to be immersive. So I did a spatial audio, that's kind of the automation we see there. And so Brian and I got together last year and did a few pieces from the album with spatial audio in this room with like lighting, and everyone was on mats and pillows and relaxing and walking around. And then I got a residency with Reforesters Laboratory on October 11th, and then the whole album will be in a 24-channel spatial audio system, which is really cool. So that's kind of what I've been working on at the moment, and yeah.
So with Camilla's, awesome skill sets of like, what if we have, what if we have like, 80 Camillas flying all around you in sonic space? We sat down and butted our heads together and said, well, one of the things that VR is incredible at is like transporting you to different spaces. With pass-through now, when the Quest 3 dropped and the pass-through got usable, right? We said, well, what do we do to kind of ground you more in the place where you're at, right? And so the thing that we're going to be showing you all today is just this. It's a very site-specific work that we redo each place we do it. So the idea is it is for one audience member to really look at and notice more of the differences about the space in the world around them, right? So how the space you're in changes over time. And so we do this by showing different snapshots at different times of the space kind of in different settings. And Camilla performing in each of those settings to provide like this beautiful layering effect. Technical details for those who want them, it's built with NYVR. We use a 360 video camera to get kind of each of the different layers of it. Quest 3 for the pass-through. It's only ever for one person at a time, so it is the least scalable project we've ever done. It's for exactly one person, and it requires Camilla to be there at exact one spot, so totally unscalable. But it's fun, right? And this is like an experience that we're trying to build. The version that we're going to show today is the kind of like reduced version that just has a single second Camilla. We've also done versions where there's like 3 or 4 of her around you, and I keep on telling folks that I want to do a version where we like have like a whole set and a bunch of actors, and we have people coming around. We need some more funding before we get to that part. So I think we'll go ahead and start the demo and start getting things ready for it. The one thing I will say first is we would not be musicians if we did not plug our next upcoming show, the Brooklyn Motion Capture gig. We are the Brooklyn Motion Capture Dance Ensemble. We take dancers' movements and we turn it into sound using motion capture. So if that sounds fun, come to our show. We'll go over it and we'll start getting the demo set up. If you want to kind of orient yourselves that way, we are both going to cast to the screen, but stuff's also going to be happening over there in that corner of the room. So, do you want to have people move or?
I think they'll be able to see it from here, so I think that's good. Are you going to be in VR?
I will not. Does somebody want to be in VR who hasn't done it yet?
I'll do it.
Cool. All right.
So just give us 2 minutes while we arrange this, and then we should be able to cast. And I went through it, and it is super cool.
As long as the tech doesn't.
All right, we're good.
As long as the tech doesn't crack out. As long as the tech doesn't crack out.
Laura, make sure you keep your head still for us. There's going to be both the request to keep your head still, but also, at some point, look around and slow. Strictly, stay sharp.
doesn't know, be very careful.
I'm a lightweight.
I know how tough you are.
Not due to lack of experience. So what the audience won't hear is the additional audio that's coming through the headset. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing it, and being a great participant. Thank you everybody for being a great audience.
So before we end, I think I got a couple Q&A questions, so if all the presenters can come back up, we can just run through that. And audience members, if you have any other questions, put them into Think Quickly. And if you guys go over here.
Amazing job.
Correct. Give me a second here. Great job. Great job.
Is this a police line on one?
Is your album from vinyl?
Yeah, finally.
Pull out my two phones. It's freaking out, actually.
Must be great questions.
I think I got to disconnect from the Wi-Fi. My apologies.
I can ask it live.
Why don't you? I know you put one in. Why don't you ask the first one?
Okay, so my question is to Aaron, right?
Yep.
I was just curious, like, did Alcoholics Anonymous play a role in your journey of 8 years sober? Congratulations. And if you don't mind sharing, like, what was the involved participation like for you?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, yeah. A 12-step program that I went through was Celebrate Recovery. There's a lot of parallels with AA, and that was essential. Because I quit a job to go into recovery, and I basically had to rediscover who I was, and to be centered in a recovery program. It was essential. I didn't know it would become as much of my identity as being known as the unemployed alcoholic 8 years down the line, but yeah, 12-step program, having support around. Anytime anybody's tackling something life-changing like that is essential.
That's so inspiring.
Thank you.
I feel like you could actually present something like this at an AA meeting or something like that, because they have speakers actually. You'd be great. It's a great testimonial.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to share a number of times. Yeah, thank you. And I love that, but what was really interesting was when I was doing stand-up comedy in the open mic scene, and I would incorporate recovery into all my comedy as the unemployed alcoholic. And many times after shows, people would come up and have questions and talk about what their life could be like being sober.
All right, I think I got some of these questions in. For Christine, do you partner with nonprofit organizations that do training, program upskilling for either SYEP programs or at-risk youth through NYVR?
We have not yet, but it doesn't mean that we can't. As long as say we don't do K-12, things like that, as long as it's around, whoever asked this question, as long as it's around more business communication skills, leadership skills, that would be something that we could do. But sure, we're actually in discussions now with a coaching company that specializes in training neurodivergent learners, but adults, not kids.
It's the 16 to 24 age demographic, and that's that's fun.
Is this your question?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because the government gives funding for these kinds of programs actually, and so they look for program providers like yours. So if you're doing this for young adults, that's a good market segment that the government will pay you for.
Still?
Yeah, it's every year.
Are you sure?
It's going, so we're talking New York City government. No,
Okay.
you said you were a Fordham professor.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, so both of these institutions are paid from city agency budgets. So obviously you have a lot of youth, DOE, and NYC DOE is a beast of its own compared to the rest of the country.
Okay, cool, thank you. I'll look into that.
And another one for you, how can a student join your studio?
A student? In what way? Who asked that? Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to learn communication skills, leadership skills, how would a student join?
So we do have some off-the-shelf programs that you could sign up for. We've got some instructor-led programs. We have some self-paced things. Right now, we're targeting organizations actually and selling, the packages. But for an individual, what we have is we've got leadership, a leadership module, cross-cultural communications, and a mindful leadership, cross-cultural communications. We did have a DEI one and managing change. But some of the bigger programs that we offer, or the biggest program that we do is our XR certification that actually helps learning leaders to understand what is the metaverse, what is it not, what's immersive tech, how to use the right tools for the right experience, what are the objectives and how are you going to measure that. And so they learn how to use the tech to go back to their classes and start using it, because that's a big issue. So if you want to learn more, we can talk.
All right.
Cool.
All right, Hannah, was there anything that really enabled you to accomplish what you have done so far?
Thank you so much to whoever asked this question.
It was your one.
Thank you.
That was a perfect punchline.
Thank you. It's funny. For me, is that I think as a philosophy major or as an artist, I'm a perfectionist and I avoid putting myself out there to make a change and to do something. But I realized that once I actually step forward, make the first step, it's more important to just try than succeed. And I think with the right mindset, with hope again, with the courage you can build up from just trying, that's the starting point for everything. And when I first started learning coding as a philosophy major, back then, I've never taken any classes, and for my first ever demo, I couldn't even afford a laptop, and that's why I saw the video, the photo of me in a VR set, because you need a very specific GPU to load all the visuals. Now I couldn't afford that, so I just literally live cast the VR, the visuals I did, always test that to the screen, to the projector, to the audiences, and I was really scared because now I was afraid of being judged, but I realized that once you're confident enough, once you believe in what you're doing, people are very supportive about your beliefs. And I think it is the radical belief, the jump of belief that you are gonna make a difference. You're not gonna change the reality, but you can accompany it with everything you can, whatever you have. I don't have a laptop, but I have a VR set. It's cheaper than a laptop, but with whatever I have, just take this first step. I think that is the most important thing I've learned. And yeah, but thank you for that question.
Anthony, what was the most surprising finding or learning that you've had working with the students?
I think it had to be, there was this one of our first sessions. Immediately after we had like our first session, like a week later, a student came up to me and they kind of showed me that they were taking initiative and actually researching like topics on VR by themselves. And I think that, I think that was your question, but it was about them taking initiative. One of the students, I told him, hey, look, we're gonna be working with Unity. It's gonna be a bit too heavy. It's gonna be heavy, and you can tag along with me. But he went on and went to go create a room in the VR and create a room in Unity. And again, I was really surprised that the students took initiative and like went out and they were really excited about building a VR experience, and they went out and learned as much as they can.
Great. Aaron, two questions. One, is the format mostly stand-up, or do you also do improv, sketch comedy, other stuff?
Great question. And there's a wide variety of things that happen at the Soapstone. There are stand-up performances, both from professionals and amateurs. There's improv, with your name all over it. Yeah. But there's also talk shows. Tonight there's a show called Well Metaversed, and it's about bringing builders of the metaverse in, and they interview them and take audience questions and stuff, much like this.
Awesome. And then somebody wants to know, when is the launch party and when do we get our invite?
Was that your question? yeah. All right, well done. That's a good one, yeah. So there are actually 3 launch parties tomorrow and a total of 6 events tomorrow. All of those can be joined on mobile, and you can find links to that at soapstonecomedy.com or headset, of course, in Horizon Worlds. But the 3 shows, do you know what time they are?
I know one is the last one I think is at 8.
Yep, so it's Eastern time, I believe it's 2 o'clock p.m., 6 o'clock p.m., and 9 o'clock p.m. And then there's also feathered in there some great shows that we recorded hybrid. So we had a comedian on stage performing in front of a live audience with a headset on, simultaneously performing for a virtual reality audience. Sounds like something you guys might like.
We'll take that, yeah.
And so we partnered with Laugh Fest, which is a great comedy festival that raises money for Gilda's Club, which is a lovely organization that supports people going through a cancer or a grief journey. And so we've partnered with them, and we're doing a whole series of great shows. Katie Hannigan, who's actually from New York, is doing the shows tomorrow.
Awesome. All right, no questions for Brian. I just wanted to, but I wanted to.
Can I have a question?
Absolutely.
Wow, you guys So the time lapse, what we were hearing, so that happened previously, and then it just layers it all in?
Exactly, right. So before everybody showed up today, we went over there, got out the 360 camera, videoed a take of Camilla playing one layer of it, then exported it, uploaded it to the thing, put it into the headset, and then for the performance of it, it's that previous recording overlaid with what Camilla does live.
So how does the timing work?
That's the magic.
That's right. Oh, okay. You can tell me
You can't ask about the magic.
Yeah. Wow. Really, really cool.
Thank you.
So Camilla, have you ever played with yourself? Like put the VR while you're violining?
Oh, wow.
I haven't, but I think of the whole thing being like a kind of like a looping pedal. So it feels like that for me, but maybe we need to do that.
You should try that, because I assume you can kind of violin with someone else and everybody plays a different piece. So you don't play the exact same, but you have one piece staggered and then you play the other one, or so. It's really cool. And seeing it inside, I'm sure it's different than kind of this. You really get into the kind of double kind of players.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
It might also be cool, like when building up on that train of thought, to have like an orchestra playing and stuff like that. So it's more to see how it changes the effects and stuff like that. Because then you can end up doing like a sound installation exhibit or something like that, and get people really excited.
If you know how to get funding for an orchestra for us, let us know.
Well, business improvement districts could be a possible route.
All right, one more round of applause for all of our amazing presenters. We're going to be here till around 8:50, so stick around and talk to the presenters, try out the demos, and then we'll see you next month. So thank you very much, everyone.